Let's talk about sway back adjustments a little bit deeper. I'm going to show you how to put back the straight center back edge after you make this adjustment to cut your garment on the fold. And I'm also going to show you how to make this adjustment on a raglan sleeve top. In front of me, I have two different top pattern pieces. I have a traditional set-in sleeve top, and I have a raglan sleeve top. I'm going to put the raglan sleeve top aside for right now, because what I'd like to do is show you how to do a sway back and then put it back, put back the parts that you need to create a pattern that you can cut on the fold. So you need to make a copy of your pattern. So you can see here I have two. I'm going to put one aside, and I'm just going to draw at the small of the back here where I would make a sway back adjustment. And let's say I needed to remove this much, keeping in mind this is a half scale pattern, it's tiny, so I'm going to remove this much from the center back. The way you do that is you create a hinge at the side seam, cut through your center back, and then you pivot the pattern down like that. Okay, and you can see what happens when you do that is your center back is no longer straight. So let me just tape this into position. All right, and if I put my ruler here, you can see that the center back is no longer straight. Now, if you're working with a pattern that does have a center back seam, this will fit nicely to have this shape along your center back seam. But if you want to cut it on the fold, you have to straighten this back out. That's why you need a copy of your pattern. So what you're going to do is you're going to take the pattern, put it behind the adjusted pattern, line up the pattern below the adjustment. So I am lining up the pattern here. I'm just going to put a few sew tights down. So this section right here is lined up exactly. It's below the adjustment. You can see what's happening here is that the center back is, the original position of the center back is here. It's pushed out because we pivoted and made a wedge adjustment here. And I'm just going to draw that for you so you can see. This part right here is what we got rid of, this vertical space here, right? I'm just going to color it in so it looks nice and neat. All right, so that's what we removed, okay? And that's why it pushes the pattern, this way. And now it's sticking out. So the first thing I'm going to do is recreate my straight center back edge by lining up the top of the center back neckline with the original center back here, like that. To create the rest of the pattern, we need to put back all of this. So we need to keep all of this, we need to keep all of this, okay? And we need to redraw the shoulder and neckline, because you can see my neckline is now going to be cut off, and the original shoulder's up here. We want to keep the lower position of the shoulder. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure the original length of the shoulder, which is 2 inches. So I'm going to draw a new shoulder that's 2 inches starting from the original armhole. So that's going to become my new shoulder. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to reach under here and I'm going to cut this off at the new shoulder. But then I'm going to also cut out my neckline edge. And you can see if I put this down on the pattern like this. So now I'm lining up the shoulder and the neckline. I could go ahead and draw in the neckline like this. So I'm just going to put my sew tight right there. I'm I'm going to put a sew tight right there, and then that will allow me to draw back in the neckline like that. So this was the original neckline that I'd used to trace. So if I remove that, and if I cut off extra paper, you can see, oops, I probably should tape this into place here. Let me just put a piece of Scotch tape here to hold it in place. Okay, so now I can just get rid of this. All right, so that's how you put back the armhole, the side seam, and then you trim off the part of the back that extended past, and you redraw your neckline, and you just fix your shoulder. All right, so you can see that puts back the neckline because we use this little template to draw that back in after we straightened everything out. So that is how you put back the pattern after you do a sway back. So this past weekend, I was working with a student, and she's working on a Raglan sleeve top. This is a little bit different because of the shape of the back neckline and the armhole. So I'm going to put away the copies, and I'm just going to create that sway back adjustment. So again, I'm going to just cut through here, and I can pivot this down. Oops, I lost my pivot. All right, now I just want to show you, I'm going to put a copy underneath here. I'm going to line up the lower section like this, and then I'm just going to put it sew tight there. So when I'm pivoting down, notice, depending on how much I need to adjust this, if I have to swing it, you know, a significant amount, it could work out that the neckline actually does not even end up on the pattern at all after I do this adjustment. So depending on how much of a sway back you need, it could look like this. If you just need a little bit, it could look like this. And then you would kind of fix it almost the same way as I just showed, but let's make it a little bit more dramatic. Let's make it something like this. All right, so this puts the neckline almost off the pattern, and I've overlapped it a pretty significant amount here. So I'm getting rid of this much. Okay, so that's how much overlaps. So I'm just going to tape that down. Okay, and then I can tell that however much I overlap here, like a ½ inch, that should be how much lower the neckline is going to be over there, right, when we put things back. So the first thing I'm going to do is measure the length of my neckline, which is, in this case, it's about 1 1/8 inches, and it's about a ½ inch down, which coincides where the tip of this is. So where the neckline is the level, or how far it needs to drop, because we got rid of the ½ inch here, and this is a ½ inch up here. So I'm going to just go ahead and draw, touching the top where the tip of the neckline is, over 1 1/8 inches. Oops, like this. Okay, so that's going to become my new neckline, this line, and I might need to fine tune it a little bit because, you know, it might need to be curved ever so slightly at the center back, but basically that's my neckline. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw my center back edge, and I'm going to do that in green so you can see the difference here, the different things going on. Okay, so there's my center back. Now the rest of what has to happen is we have to put the rest of this armhole back, and because it's a complicated shape, I think the easiest thing to do at this point, so first I'm going to cut off this to put myself back at center back. Okay, and that works out to be at the tip. That's the very edge of my neckline there, right? So what I can do here is I can literally cut off this part of the pattern, and I can line it up so it touches. You want to have it touch at the side seam underarm edge, and then you want it to touch the edge of the neckline. Part of it is going to stick out because we're shortening it. So I'm going to go ahead and trace this. Okay, so this is going to be the new sway back, the new pattern for the sway back, because I traced this. And notice if I put this back here for a second, the notch matches, right? But right here, this amount is not getting added. Why is it not getting added? Because we lowered everything. So that's my new back armhole, shorter. Okay, so because I did this, this now affects the armhole on a raglan. So if you remember what a raglan sleeve looks like, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut this off like this, and there's my neckline, right? But we did shorten this much. Okay, this much of the armhole was basically cut off, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut out my raglan sleeve here, and I can actually take this off now because I don't need it anymore. And just for fun, let's look at the original. So I'm putting the whole original pattern back under there again, and you can see this is what was affected, right? We got rid of all of this height to fix the sway back down here. All right, so it is shorter. This was the original. Here is the adjusted. So then to adjust the sleeve, what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk it, and at this point, because I cut off my notch, I can also put my notches back right there, and then I'm going to mark where the neckline is now. It's right here. So to shorten that, I'm just going to make myself a nice little curve to the front. So see what I'm doing? I'm lowering the back armhole, the amount, so I can sew it to the, I can sew the back of the sleeve to the back of the back armhole like this. So now if I line these back up, you can see that that's going to line right up to sew the back armhole and the back sleeve cap, or the back sleeve edge. All right, so you need to make a like adjustment to your sleeve, whereas if you're adjusting a set-in sleeve bodice pattern, the sleeve is not affected. Okay, but in the raglan it is, because this part of the top of the sleeve contributes to the neckline, and the armhole is right here, so you have to make sure that that is trued up as well. So we've trimmed off from the sleeve, we've trimmed off basically from the neckline, and actually I'll put it back like this so you can see. And that's how you would do a sway back for a raglan sleeve top that you also want to cut out on the fold. If you have any questions or comments about that, please post those below and I will help you. If you're enjoying my content, consider liking and subscribing to my channel because it helps me grow, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.